I have a locked room in my house. I never told my daughter about it. Not because I don't trust her, but because everything inside that room is the kind of thing where one wrong person knowing just one and the whole family pays for it. That night, I came home late. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Hallway lights off. No TV. No footsteps. I was halfway up the stairs when I heard it. A soft metallic click. Not loud. Not forced. The kind of sound a key makes. When it almost fits, I stopped. Then I walked back down. Slow. At the end of the hallway, I saw him, Kyle, my son-in-law, standing right in front of the locked door, flashlight in one hand, a ring of keys in the other, turning them one by one like he was spinning a lottery wheel. I didn't move, because my daughter doesn't even know that room exists. I've never said a word. Not once. So how the hell did he end up here? Kyle flinched when he saw me, then forced a smile too quick, too practiced. Dad, I heard. This door gets stuck sometimes. I was just checking. Checking? At midnight, in the dark, with a flashlight and a full set of keys? I looked at him, then at the lock. No scratches. No damage. Just someone who had been here long enough to try more than once. I asked him slow, calm. How long have you known this door was here? He swallowed. I just guessed. Big house, you know. Guessed? No. You don't guess the only door in a house that stays locked all the time. You find it. After you've been looking. After you've been watching, listening, piecing things together. And right there, in that quiet hallway, I understood something most people learn too late. This wasn't curiosity. This was step one. Because the kind of man who finds a secret you never told anyone isn't lucky. He's been hunting you for a long time. That room wasn't just storage. It was my final vault. The place I put things that should never mix with everyday life. Inside, I kept copies of everything that mattered. Property documents, contracts, insurance papers, a backup of my will, a small safe with USB drives, data, passwords, everything someone would need if I couldn't speak for myself anymore. And then there were the things money couldn't replace. My wife's belongings. My daughter's childhood keepsakes. Things no one should touch without permission. I didn't hide that room because I was paranoid. I hid it because I understand how families work. The more people who know, the more people who just want to help. And the more people who want to help, the faster control slips out of your hands. My daughter is kind. That's her strength. But it's also her blind spot. Because kind people don't always see when someone is guiding them, slowly, quietly, into someone else's plan. Kyle never pushed too hard. That's what made him dangerous. He'd say the right things. Take care of your health, Dad. Then, like it meant nothing, he'd add, where do you usually keep important documents? You got backups for everything, right? If something happens, who handles it? He called it concern. I called it scent tracking, because he never asked randomly. He always asked in the direction of value, of control, of access. I never thought I'd need that room to protect my family from someone inside it. But life has a way of flipping things on you. A thief on the street takes what you have. A thief inside the house? He waits, learns, and takes the right to decide what happens next. And when I saw Kyle standing in front of that door, what scared me wasn't whether he could open it. It was this. He found it. Before my daughter ever did. Which meant he wasn't walking with the family. He was walking ahead of it. Looking back, I know he didn't end up at that door by accident. He'd been laying bait for months. Every dinner, he'd drop a line, light, casual, almost playful. You're getting older, Dad. What if you forget something? You got someone you trust with everything? You planning to leave it all to the family? Smiles. Each question sounded harmless, but put together, they pointed in one direction. Inheritance. Control. I never gave him a straight answer. I'd just say, it's handled. And every time I dodged, his eyes would dim just for a second. A tiny shift. Most people wouldn't notice it. I did. That wasn't disappointment. That was ambition. Hitting a wall. So he changed tactics. He became helpful. Too helpful. Let me organize your documents, Dad. I can clean up your file cabinet. You should really double-check your locks. I can help with that. Notice the pattern? He never volunteered for random things. He always moved toward where things were kept, where control lived. At the time, I thought he was being diligent. Now I know. He was trying to get his hands on places I never invited him into. One day, my daughter mentioned it casually. Kyle said you should just let him hold on to your documents. He'll take care of everything. I smiled when she said it. But inside, everything went cold. Because decent people don't ask to hold someone else's life. They offer to help with something specific. Predators? They ask for the thing that gives them authority. And standing there that night, watching him in front of that locked door, every innocent question came back to me. They weren't random. They were coordinates. He built a map with questions. And tonight, he had reached the final marker. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make a scene. Men like Kyle love that. They need you emotional, so they can turn you into the difficult old man. I just asked one question. Who told you about this room? Kyle forced a smile. I just guessed. Big house. Locked door at the end of the hall. Guessed? No. A decent person doesn't walk up to a locked door in someone else's house and start trying keys. There are only two kinds of people who do that. The rude, or the ones with a goal. Kyle wasn't rude. He was precise. Flashlight angled low, keys sorted in his hand, head slightly down just enough to avoid the camera. That wasn't curiosity. That was rehearsal. So I ran through it in my head. How did he find it? He searched the house when I wasn't there. He watched my routines, noticed I lingered at the end of the hallway. Or he listened, caught something when I spoke to my lawyer, my insurance agent, about the records room. Every option was dirty. And the dirtiest part? If he's willing to go through my house, he's willing to go through my daughter's life the same way. I looked at him and said it. Clean and simple. Don't try again. He didn't stop acting. Dad, you're overreacting. I'm just trying to help. Help? No. Help asks. This takes. I turned and walked away. But in my head, it was already decided. Tonight wasn't about catching a son-in-law in the wrong place. It was about recognizing a man testing boundaries. And men like that don't stop. They push until someone makes them regret it. Just like I expected, Kyle didn't stop after getting caught. He escalated. The next morning, my daughter called me. Dad, Kyle said, you've been hiding things, that you don't trust anyone. He thinks you're making the family tense. I exhaled slowly. That's what men like him do. When they can't open a door, they open a different one. The one inside your family's mind. I asked her, did you even know that room existed? Silence. No. Then how did your husband find it before you? She hesitated, and for a second, I thought she saw it. But then she said quietly, maybe. He was just worried. That's when I knew Kyle had already planted what he needed. Not proof. Doubt. Because once you start questioning me, you stop questioning him. And that buys him time. Time to keep looking. Time to keep pushing. Time to get closer to what he wants. I slowed my voice down. Listen to me carefully. This isn't concern. It's a pattern. A man who tracks assets will use the closest person to get to them. And right now, that's you. She started crying, not because of the room, but because, deep down, she realized something far worse. The man she trusted might be treating this family like a project. And that was the moment I made my decision. If I didn't gather proof and draw a hard line, Kyle wouldn't just get closer to that locked door. He'd turn me into the villain, so he could stand next to it, with no one left willing to question him. I didn't confront Kyle. Anger would have been a gift to him, because men like that survive on one thing, playing the victim. So I did the one thing he hates most. I started collecting proof. First, the hallway camera. I wasn't lucky enough to have a full angle, but I didn't need one. The footage showed enough. A figure, a flashlight, a hand. Testing keys. One after another. No face, but no doubt either. I exported the clip, saved it in 2 separate places. Then I checked the lock. Faint scratches around the keyhole. Fresh. Which meant one thing. He hadn't just tried once. He'd been there long enough to fail. Repeatedly. Next, I checked my keys. All accounted for. So if he was trying keys, they weren't mine, which left 2 options. He brought his own, or he was using a universal set. Cheap, crude, but enough for someone patient. Either way, the intention was clear. He wasn't curious. He was trying to open the door. I called Dana, my lawyer. I didn't soften it. Didn't explain around it. My son-in-law is probing a locked room in my house. He found it before my daughter did. She didn't hesitate. Change the locks, move anything sensitive, and do not let him be alone in your house. Clean. Direct. That's why I trust her. So I moved. New lock. New codes on the safe. Critical documents relocated to a bank deposit box. That room? It's not where I keep secrets anymore. Now, it's where I set traps. Because I know something about men like Kyle. Once they catch the scent, they don't walk away. They come back. And next time, I won't just catch him at the door. I'll catch him, reaching for what he thinks is his. Rick, my investigator, dug deeper into the camera logs, and that's when the second hit came. There wasn't just one night. There were 2 more. Before the night I caught him. One when I went grocery shopping. One when I was over at a neighbor's place. Same position, same flashlight, same movement leaning in close to the lock. That meant one thing. That night wasn't the first time. It was just the first time I saw him. I sat there for a long moment. Because the violation isn't in whether the door opens. It's in realizing someone has already mapped your home, and you had no idea. Rick didn't sugarcoat it. He's done surveillance. He knows which doors stay locked. When you're gone. Where your cameras are. I asked him one question. And what does he actually want? Rick answered without hesitation. Information. Documents. Anything inside that room that lets him borrow, leverage, or control. That's when it clicked. He doesn't need to steal gold. He needs access. Because access becomes power. That night, I sat down with my daughter. You need to understand this, I told her. This isn't accidental. He's been watching. She didn't argue this time. She just sat there quiet. For a long time. Then she said something that hurt more than anything else that day. Dad, I feel like I don't even know who my husband is. I looked at her, and I didn't soften it. You do. You just haven't wanted to believe it. I checked the room again. I have a habit. Every box. Every envelope. Every stack. I know exactly where it sits. Not because I'm obsessive, because I've been burned before. And when you've been burned once, you stop trusting memory and start trusting patterns. 2 boxes labeled documents were slightly out of place. One file I always kept perfectly aligned was off, just enough to notice. And one thin envelope, copies of a few key papers, was gone. Not the whole box. Not anything bulky. Just something flat. Easy to slip. Easy to hide. That's not random theft. That's selection. That's someone who knows exactly what they're looking for. I stood there, looking at the disturbance. And it clicked. Kyle had already been inside. Not guessing. Not trying. Inside. Maybe with a copied key. Maybe he convinced my daughter to open it. Maybe he got a window of time I didn't catch. The how didn't matter anymore. What mattered was this. He didn't just want in. He'd already taken something. I called Dana. If documents are missing, she said, you assume they've been copied or taken, and you act like you're under financial attack. No hesitation. No comfort. Just action. So I moved fast. Passwords changed. Security questions reset. Access locked down. Anything that could be used against me, cut off. But that still wasn't enough, because I needed one thing I didn't have yet. Proof. Direct. Undeniable. Because if I just said something's missing, he'd deny it. He'd smile and say I was getting old, confused. That I misplaced it myself. And that's when I made the decision. I wasn't going to accuse him. I was going to let him show me exactly what he was willing to take. Dana built the plan. Simple, clean, legal. A bait envelope placed back inside the document box. Inside, harmless papers, but designed to look like real asset records. We added a tiny marker, something only I would notice if it had been opened. And most important, a microcamera, positioned low, focused not on the face, but on the hands. Because hands don't lie, the goal wasn't revenge. It was confession, without words. I reset everything, put the room back exactly the way it was. Then I did one more thing. I gave him a reason. Casually, right in front of Kyle, I said, I need to reorganize some important documents. Things have been messy lately. He looked up instantly, just for a second. His eyes lit up, that small flicker, like someone who just saw a door crack open. That was all I needed. That night, I stepped out for 30 minutes. Not random. Right in the window Kyle usually showed up. I wasn't alone. Rick was outside watching, waiting. Then, the alert came. Motion detected. Hallway camera. I opened the feed. There he was. Kyle, standing at the end of the hallway. Again, but this time, he was smarter. No obvious flashlight, just the dim glow of his phone. Low. Controlled. He moved differently now. Not guessing. Not testing. Certain. He crouched down, reached for the lock, and opened it. Fast. Clean. No hesitation. He had a key, and in that moment, I forgot how to breathe. Because now, there was no more doubt. No more theories. No more, maybe. He didn't just find the room. He didn't just try to get in. He already owned access. Kyle stepped into the room, like he'd been there before. No hesitation. No scanning. He didn't look around. He went straight to the documents box, opened it, and started flipping through the envelopes fast. Not curious. Focused. Like someone searching for a keyword. Not a surprise. Then he found it. The bait envelope. He paused, just for a second, picked it up, opened it, pulled the papers out, and started taking photos. 1, 2, 3. No reading. No checking. Just capture. And move. Then he folded everything back, but not carefully. Not respectfully. He slid the envelope into his inner jacket pocket. Not back into the box. Into himself. Then, he closed the box. Closed the door. Locked it. And walked out. Like nothing had happened. 4 minutes. That's all it took. 4 minutes. To prove everything. Because a man who cares about family doesn't secretly photograph documents in a locked room. He asks. He sits down. He talks. Kyle didn't ask. He took. Rick saved the footage. Dana watched it once and said, "That's enough. No drama. No debate. Just a line drawn." I waited 10 more minutes. Not because I needed to. Because I didn't want him to suspect anything. Then I called my daughter. "Come over. Tonight." I didn't want her hearing Kyle's version first. I didn't want explanations. Or excuse. I wanted her to see it. With her own eyes. Because some truths, you don't argue. You show. Kyle came to my house with my daughter. He still looked calm. Polite. Like a man who thought good manners could still save him. I didn't argue. I just set my phone on the table and pressed play. The second the video showed him opening the locked room, all the color drained from Kyle's face. My daughter froze. "What are you doing?" Kyle lunged for the phone, trying to shut it off. I stopped him. "Sit down." Then I asked the question that pinned him in place. My daughter didn't even know that room existed. "So how did you know? And how did you get a key?" Kyle forced a weak smile. "Dad." I just wanted to know what you kept in there. I'm looking out for my wife, for my family. I looked him dead in the eye. You look out for family by sneaking into a locked room and photographing private documents? That's when Kyle snapped. Why are you even keeping it all to yourself? It's going to belong to the family eventually anyway. The words hit the room like a sentence. My daughter's voice shook. Are you saying my father's property is yours? And then Kyle made the mistake that finished him. You're my wife. I need to know what I'm working with. Working with. There it was. The real motive. Not love. Not concern. Not family. A plan. A route. A way in. I looked at him and ended it. Your route doesn't go through my house. That night, I changed every lock. Every single one. I moved all critical documents out of the house. The locked room? It's empty now. Because I already have what I needed. Proof. Dana sent the legal notice. Kyle is no longer allowed near my property. No access. No excuses. If he steps in again, it's trespass. Or worse. My daughter stayed with me that night. She cried. Not because of the room, but because she finally saw the truth. The man she married had been living with a plan. And in that plan, she wasn't a partner. She was a bridge to everything I owned. Kyle texted, first, apologies, then begging, then threats. If you listen to your dad, you'll... I didn't respond. Because when men like him lose access, they don't reflect. They escalate. They push fear, hoping it pulls people back. I told my daughter, calmly, you need your own lawyer. You separate your finances. And you understand this. He's not sorry because he was wrong. He's sorry because he got caught. She nodded, eyes red, but clear. And that's when I knew. She finally saw him. I'm not happy my family broke that night, but I am relieved because I stopped something worse. A man like that, getting a key to my daughter's future. Dad, I always thought he was just under pressure. I looked at her. Pressure doesn't make a man sneak into locked rooms and photograph documents. Greed does. She didn't argue this time. Instead, she started remembering all the small things she used to ignore. The way Kyle always asked about money. The way he controlled conversations. The way he offered to hold on to documents. The way he made her feel guilty. Just for asking questions, piece by piece. It came together. He didn't want a family. He wanted a project. I helped her put protections in place. A trust for her future. Clear financial boundaries. Assets moved out of reach from anyone with the wrong intentions. And I taught her one thing I learned too late. Real family doesn't make you hide the keys. Predators do. She stopped saying, he's not like that, and started asking, what do I need to do to stay safe? That was the moment I knew. She was out. Out of the story he built. Out of the control he tried to hold. Because there's a shift you can't fake. When someone stops defending and starts thinking. I never told my daughter about the locked room, but her husband found it first. And that's the part that should scare you. Because predators don't wait behind the family. They move ahead of it. To the exact place you hide things. At the exact moment you let your guard down. So let me ask you something. If this were you, what would you do? Would you stay quiet? To keep the peace, hoping it stops on its own? Or would you shut it down the moment he touches a door you never invited him to? I chose to shut it down, because some doors, once a predator opens them, they don't stop there. They move on to your accounts, your will, your control, and eventually, your child's trust. Real family doesn't need a key to your locked room. Predators do. If you've ever ignored a red flag to keep the peace, you already know how dangerous that is.